Hi, I'm Ananya. I'm a junior content manager with Trip 101. Today, joining me is Bish from Singapore, and we're going to talk about an exciting destination. It's Kawaguchiko, where one can view the Mount Fuji from. So I'm very excited to talk about it. Thank you so much for joining me, Bish. I'm very pleased to welcome you here.
Thank you so much for the welcome.
Bish, before we talk about the destination, would you please tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how do you travel, what type of a traveler you are?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm originally born and brought up in India, but living and working in Singapore for a decade now. And obviously, living in Singapore has given me the opportunity to explore a number of destinations closer to Singapore across Southeast Asia and North Asia as well. When it comes to describing myself as a traveler, like most people describe themselves as travelers nowadays. If you look at people's Insta profiles and their TikTok profiles, everyone's a traveler. I fall in that bucket as well. Uh, for me, what is key is destinations I land up at. I love exploring on foot. I will clock easily 25,000 steps a day on average in any destination I'm at because I'm just happy to walk around and explore what are the things around, be it a city, be it a forest, be it lakes, be it mountains. I just love to walk and explore. And the other bit which I'm really passionate about is I don't carry any big DSLR cameras or anything, but I love to take photographs. So I always have photographs of destinations and things that catch my attention on my iPhone. And that's my travel partner. I always ask my friends a question, guess how many photos I have on my iPhone. And they take guesses, must be 5,000, 8,000, 12,000. But believe it or not, I think I have 88 to 90,000 pictures on
Wow.
maybe a lot of them are repeats, but a lot of pictures taken at multiple destinations that I've traveled to that I hold very close to my heart.
So you're a person of extremes, 20K plus steps a day and
Absolutely,
88,000
absolutely.
plus
And
photos on your phone.
I've not counted the calories. I'm pretty sure the calories intake would also be more than 10, 20,000 a day when traveling because there are no boundaries when it comes to traveling and trying out new food.
Since you mentioned that you like to walk and explore, what's, in your opinion, the most walkable destination, or which one's your favorite?
As a walker, I would have to say it is actually Kyoto. Kyoto in Japan is a destination which I feel can be really explored very well walking. And my suggestion on that also would be it is best explored if you can get up either early morning or if you can stay out late night.
Mhm.
Once the tourists are done and dusted and they've gone back to their hotels, that is when you can really feel the essence of the city and the way it was meant to be from centuries back when walking the streets of Gion in Kyoto. I think Kyoto is definitely one of my favorite cities that I'd love to explore walking around.
Oh, that's nice. I was expecting a European destination, but it's Japan all the way.
Absolutely.
Coming to Kawaguchiko, when did you go?
Kawaguchiko, we spent the last week of December 23 and first week of January 24 in Japan. So we spent about 2 weeks in Japan. We were in
Hmm.
Kawaguchiko in the last week of December. So that was our latest visit to Chico.
Oh, wow. And how was it when you went over there? Was it cold? Was it
Oh,
snowing?
it was freezing. It was really cold, especially in the evenings after sunset. During the
Hmm.
day as well, while the clothes would keep you warm, if there was a bit of wind, you could feel the chill. A lot of that comes from the snow-capped peaks of Mount Fuji and the temperatures coming from there. So it was definitely cold. So I would advise anyone going in December, January to be properly equipped with thermal wear and other options that you could possibly have in order to keep warm in an extremely cold destination.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And was there snow on Mount Fuji when you went? Or like, was it?
Oh, yeah, it was snow-capped. My wallpaper for the last year is a snow-capped Mount Fuji photo that I took at 4:30 a.m. one day when I had gotten up to take photos. So
Oh,
yeah, it was a snow-capped Mount Fuji that we saw last year.
oh, wow. Yeah, it must have been quite an experience. And especially
Absolutely.
if you got up at 4:30 to click
Oh
photos,
yeah,
then is that something that you usually do? Get up that early for photos?
I do, especially we visit a lot of, as through our travels, we visit a lot of touristy places as well. It's not always we visit non-touristy places. And especially when it comes to touristy places, there's always a crowd. There's the whole Instagram versus reality of how a place looks with or without people. I really like to try and experience some of these places when it is less crowded or has no people around. So I will
Mm.
wake up at 4:35 to try and get to some of these places. Or if it's a place which we know that if I stay back till 12:31 in the night, it's going to be, you can experience the place a lot better in its true essence. Then
Mm.
yes, I go to those extremes to try and experience the places the way they are meant to be.
Yeah, I think the phone screen that you just shared is quite an indicator already. But how was it for you? Did the expectation match up with your reality, what you saw versus what you were expecting based on Instagram versions?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think we visited Japan about 4 years back, sometime in 2019. And at
Mhm.
that time, we had just visited Tokyo and Kyoto. I still remember we were taking the Shinkansen from Tokyo going to Kyoto, and we just passed Mount Fuji. You could see Mount Fuji if you sat on the right-hand side of the Shinkansen when traveling to Kyoto. And it was something we said we have to come back to at some point. We didn't have enough time
Mhm.
to do a particular stop. This time, when we were planning for the trip, we specifically planned to spend a night in at Kawaguchiko and really experience the place there and see Mount Fuji from up close because we had seen so much about it, seen so much on of content again on social media, on in different travel articles. So yeah, it was definitely, it met my expectations when I went to that destination.
Okay, that's great. So when you went this time, going from Tokyo to Kawaguchiko, did you take the Shinkansen again?
Yes, we took the Shinkansen to one of the major stations, and then from there we had to take another train to get to Kawaguchiko specifically because the Japan Western Rail doesn't cover that particular smaller Kawaguchiko station. So the
Hmm.
Shinkansen covers a major part of the journey to Kawaguchiko, but then you have to take a small additional ride, I think 30 minutes, if I remember correctly, to get to Kawaguchiko station, which was the station for the town.
And you spent a day over there and the night.
Yes. So we spent a day and night, sort of, you could say 2 days and one night mishmash of that is what we spent because we landed at Kawaguchiko station. Again, it was around maybe possibly 11, 12 in the afternoon. It's a great destination, as in the station itself is like a picture postcard. Everything you see there gets enhanced by Mount Fuji in the background at all times. It's definitely worth spending that time there. One thing you should be aware of is given the short time it takes to get to Kawaguchiko from Tokyo, a lot of tourists treat it as a day destination. So they come
Hmm.
in the morning, spend the day, and then go back in the evenings, which means that during the day, you've got quite a bit of a rush and quite a few people around. Again, everyone is, of course, there to enjoy, but for someone like me, I wanted a bit more quieter. So, which is why the earlier half in the mornings or the latter half post 6 p.m. is when it's tourist free and you get to enjoy the charm of the town as well.
So in the 2 days that you were there, what all did you do? So apart from, of course, viewing Mount Fuji, are there any other activities and attractions also in the town?
Yes, definitely. I think the top two or three that come to mind. First is we went to this Insta spot, the Churaito Pagoda, which is the stereotypical magnet image that you will always see of Kawaguchiko, which is a beautiful red pagoda in the foreground with Mount Fuji in the background. So that
Hmm.
was our first one. I remember it was a pretty intense climb. We did have to climb a fairly high number of steps, but like they say, the view was worth it. We
Hmm.
must have taken 100 pictures there, but just the climb itself. And then when you see and I think that's one thing which really stands out about photographs in Japan is the use of the color red. It's a very popular color used at major shrines for the torii gates and so on and so forth. So the Churato Pagoda at the foreground with the blue sky and Mount Fuji in the background is really something that stays with you for a very long time. And it's
Hmm.
one thing to see on a phone screen or a laptop. but it's a different experience altogether when it comes to looking at it in real life. So the Churaito Pagoda was well worth it. I highly recommend travelers to go there and spend some time. You have to almost wait in line to take a picture with no people around, but people are cordial that way. People are orderly. Even tourists, they give you enough space to take your own photographs. They've got a very nice small gallery where you can sit and just enjoy the view. So that I think
Hmm.
also was a nice touch from the authorities there, where you can just sit in and soak the view in of the Churaito Pagoda with Mount Fuji in the background. So I think that's a must do there. We did another excellent boat ride as well in Lake Kawaguchi. And you asked about the temperature. It was pretty cold and there was a bit of a wind. So it was definitely chilly in the middle of the day when we went on the boat ride. But again, obviously, the true star of Kawaguchiko is Mount Fuji. You
Yeah.
look at it from different angles and backgrounds and their different combinations. This whole view of it from a lake was a very different perspective and a view of Mount Fuji during the day. And one bit that really stood out for me, and I still remember, the locals call it Fuji-san. They refer to Mount Fuji as Fuji-san. An elderly Japanese gentleman was on the boat with us. I could see that he was traveling by himself. He had
Hmm.
his phone in his hand and he was trying to take a photo. He wanted a photo of himself with Mount Fuji in the background.
Hmm.
We sort of asked him, "Would you like us to take a photograph of you?" And he was very happy. He was like, "Yes, please." As in, he really wanted that. And we took a photo of him and he was very happy with it. But something that also remains with me, I remember the boat ride was about 30 to 45 minutes long. It's not a very long boat ride to prepare for. I remember him standing in one corner with his hands folded, praying to Mount Fuji or Fuji-san. And that's it again brought to life the respect that the
Hmm.
Japanese have for Mount Fuji as well, and how they treat it, and how he was spending time just praying to Mount Fuji from that boat ride is again something. It's a memorable experience. It's a memorable visual that has stayed with me for a long time.
Yeah, that paints it in a very spiritual way, like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And
And then Mount Fuji obviously has its touristic attraction, but for those who can feel the energy, they can feel that spiritual connect with Mount Fuji as well.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Especially here in India, we have a lot of these pilgrimages that people take. So we get the gist of it that someone can associate so deeply with nature as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Mount Kailash is a perfect example where people go to visit Mount Kailash and have that sort of sense of reverence for the mountain. With
Yeah,
Mount Fuji as well, you see that reverence that locals, and to be honest, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but tourists like me feel that reverence for Fujisan when they visit. And once they see Fujisan in all its glory, it's certainly something that makes you think a lot about what matters in life and what do you want to do rather than just the tourist bit in you. So that's definitely one memory that stands out for me from that boat ride that we took on Lake Kawaguchi. Another tourist spot that we visited was the Oishi Garden, a
hmm.
beautiful garden with nice lavender flowers where you can take very beautiful pictures of Mount Fuji, but you've got a lake, you've got nice flowers there, beautiful flowers. I would love to visit it in autumn sometime to look at the autumn foliage there as well. But that's another must visit spot. It has a nice small little cafe where you can buy your ice creams and sweet tidbits to snack on. It's a very picturesque part of the entire town, Oishi Garden, and you can take the bus. So they've got like a circular bus route that keeps going through the town so that you
Hmm.
can get up at different stops and experience these places. Again, it's very easily accessible. It's close to the Kawaguchiko station as well. So
Hmm.
that's Oishi Garden is also highly recommended as one of those picturesque spots to look at Mount Fuji. Yeah, as in everywhere, it's essentially around, it's centered around Mount Fuji. So everything you're doing in the town is looking at Fujisan from different angles, experiencing it during different times of the day. The way the sunlight plays with the visuals is also amazing because remember the sunlight reflecting off the snow-capped peaks. It was almost as if the peaks were shining during the day. And then
Hmm.
again at night when you were looking at it, it's almost like darkness when you can't see anything, but you just see a white peak somewhere far in the distance. Again,
Hmm.
during the time of the day and the visuals are very different throughout the day. And which is why, even though it is only Mount Fuji there, there is enough for you to look at it at different times of the day and different parts of the town to experience all of that.
Yeah. If I ask you to pick a time of the day or an angle or a spot that you viewed it from that really is your favorite or that stood out for you, which one would it be?
Time of the day, to be honest, it would be two, or okay, if I had to pick one, it would be early morning before sunrise. I think
Hmm.
before sunrise and just watching the sun rise, and if you can experience that, that is, I think, the best way to experience the beauty of Mount Fuji for me.
So be an early riser for sure.
Oh, yes. You have to have the energy to get up in the morning and be there for the experience. I remember my hands were freezing in -5, -6 degrees Celsius when I was out there taking some photographs on my phone as well at around 4:35 in the morning. So, yes, you have to be an early riser during winter. You have to have the grit to bear the pain of the winter cold as well. But my I would highly suggest trying to get that view of early morning Mount Fuji and then sunrise happening. If you can get that, I think that captures the beauty and essence of Mount Fuji very well.
So note to self, get up early.
Yes.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning how from the pagoda, from the lake, from the garden, all of these that you catch different views of it. So which of these was like a really, or were they all the same for you? Like they were all grand and spectacular.
I think they were all grand. If I had to pick, I would pick the Churaito Pagoda scene because the way the colors play out there of the bright red pagoda with the blue skies and then Mount Fuji in the background, I think it's
Hmm.
a visual that stays with you as well. So yes, if I had to pick one, especially during the day, it would be the Churaito Pagoda with Mount Fuji in the background.
Okay. I think you climb a little bit. It's at a higher point, so I think
Yes.
it gives
So
you that
it is a bit
vantage
of a
point.
climb. Yes, exactly. It's a vantage point. You can see the town as well. You get a nice view of the town.
Hmm.
It's at a higher altitude, and hence you get a better vantage point and a clearer view without too many disturbances. Churato Pagoda is a must visit to soak in the view and see the beauty of Kawaguchiko and Mount Fuji. Second, to get your shot for Instagram that is going to stay with you for a very long time as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you mentioned the beautiful red color that especially adds to the beauty against the blue skies.
Exactly. And in fact, believe it or not, I typically don't do this, but having planned for Churato Pagoda and having seen pictures, I ensure I wore a red jacket that day so that in the photographs, along with the pagoda, my red jacket pops as well. I don't do it typically, but yeah, I was like, okay, you know what? Coming here, God knows when I'm going to come back to this space. So
Hmm.
let's make the most of it.
Yeah, it's a special spot for sure. Coming to the town of Kawaguchiko, what else did you experience? Did you go to any cafes or restaurants, or do you remember a meal that you tried over there that really stood out?
We tried a couple of small restaurants, and I particularly remember a ramen place where we had ordered ramen. We were five of us. We ordered a bowl for each of us. We were pretty hungry after the walks and the climbs. And then we realized that once the food started coming, the size of the bowls were almost like little vessels that have enough to feed three people in one bowl. We realized we had ordered too much. So, tip to travelers, make sure you check on the quantity of how much food you're ordering when in Kawaguchiko and how much ramen they're serving.
Hmm.
But it was a very cozy environment wherein you have to sit. There were options of sitting at tables and chairs, as well as options of sitting on the floor on a slightly raised platform on lower tables to again experience the more authentic Japanese culture. but the was especially delicious. And that's one meal I certainly remember. And again, you can imagine the combination of the weather outside and the cold weather that you're battling outside with a cozy little restaurant having a hot bowl of ramen is just the perfect combination and the perfect time to have that.
Yeah, ramen is definitely winter soul food.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of this restaurant by any chance?
I remember it was called the Yamanashi Udon in miso soup. The restaurant, I think, as far as I remember, yeah, it was called Futo, Hudofuto. So
Oh,
that's the name of the restaurant. And they had a signature Yamanashi Udon with miso soup, which is a must try.
were you able to try more dishes after the ramen?
We struggled to finish our ramen and were fed with just one bowl of ramen at the restaurant.
Yeah, probably like order cautiously so that you can
Oh,
try
yes.
more.
Definitely gauge how much you and your fellow travelers can eat. If you have a lot of foodies, maybe go for one bowl, everyone. But if you don't, if you have people who can't eat as much, then or be cautious while ordering.
Yeah, short while ago you were mentioning how you were taking the bus between the spots. So was that like a good way to go around within
Yes,
Kawaguchi?
it's a very convenient way. It's almost like a circular route. So
Hmm.
it keeps going in circles around the town at different various spots. It's a very convenient way to get to from like the, for example, the place we were staying at to the different touristy destinations and around town. It was definitely very convenient and very well thought of by the authorities. And that is something true across most places you would visit in Japan. The authorities have well planned how you can experience and make the most of these destinations. So
Hmm.
definitely get on that bus. And I would suggest once you have a short list of things you want to do, try and make sure you're planning it around this bus that is run by the town authorities. It
Hmm.
starts from Kawaguchiko station. If you're arriving at Kawaguchiko station, there's a bus station that's right next to it. So you can take the bus from there and get off at places you would like to visit.
That's actually quite convenient. Yeah, if you follow the route, you don't have to do a lot of back and forth. You just go along the route.
Correct, correct. Absolutely, absolutely.
So, did you guys get a pass for getting on the bus, or would you board and buy tickets? How was it?
So we would typically board and buy tickets. There are quite a few bus lines. We booked the red line there, but we would typically pay in cash and buy tickets on board the bus there. So you do have options of their cards that you can top up money on,
Hmm.
but we found it given that the Japan economy is also a primarily cash economy because in most places that you have to go, be it restaurants, etc., there's a lot of cash transactions still going on compared to some other parts of the world. We always had cash in the form of coins and notes. So it was pretty convenient to pay for our bus rides. The one
Hmm.
tip I would give is to definitely note down the name of the bus stop you want to get off at or the place you want to get to, because then the driver in Japan, they don't speak as much English. So if you
Hmm.
ask a long-winded question in English, they struggle to give you an answer. Some people, of course, definitely can speak the language, but with the bus drivers, if you could just say, I'm going to destination A, how much? They will tell you it's, or they'll typically press a button and it shows up how much yen you're supposed to pay, and you just pay that and you go and sit at the back of the bus
Hmm.
and enjoy the ride and get off at your destination.
So, Bish, I know already peppered all the information that you have shared with a few tips here and there. But now, if I ask you to share your top three or top five tips for time travelers who are planning to Kawaguchiko and view Mount Fuji, what would
Yeah.
those be?
If I were to say the tips, one, definitely plan to stay in Kawaguchiko. Don't treat it as a day trip and just go there in the morning and come back by evening. That will not do justice to the beauty and essence of Kawaguchiko and Mount Fuji. So that's my first tip. Definitely try and spend a night or two at Kawaguchiko. The second tip would be to do your research in terms of which spots you want to cover, because depending on that, you need to choose the bus line and where and how to get to using the bus. Because obviously, as you can imagine, taxis are very expensive in Japan. So the bus is a nice cost-effective way of making your way around the town. So map out the destination you want to get to And they have maps at the Kawaguchiko station about which colored bus lines go in which direction. They have all of that. So that is the second suggestion I would make. The third one is get up early or stay up late to really enjoy the essence of Kawaguchiko when it is tourist free. Being a
Mm.
tourist myself, I'm still saying that being tourist free, that is what you should certainly look to nudge yourself on and enjoy the essence of Kawaguchiko.
Mm.
Try their local udon and ramen and the dishes there, especially if you're going in winter. It's a great combination to have. And of course, if you are one for the gram and you want amazing pictures, make sure you choose your clothing appropriately depending on the kind of colors. For example, the Chureito Pagoda is red. The
Mm.
Oishi Garden had lavender colors there. You can really go pretty wild with the kind of color combinations that you can wear. But also, if you're going in winter, prepare for a very strong or harsh winter, I would say. We didn't experience snowfall. We would have liked to have a touch of it, but it was still pretty cold. So do prepare yourselves when it comes to the weather and wind, especially in winter when you're going to Kawaguchiko.
Okay, yeah, those are all really great suggestions that would be helpful for anyone who's planning to visit. So thank you so much for those. I'm down to my last question for you. So, which is about any souvenirs that you picked up from Kawaguchiko.
Yeah, I think we picked up magnets. We picked up, I think, some small little glasses which can also act as short glasses with Mount Fuji in them as well. So it was amazing the number of souvenirs there. There's one very interesting thing, which are these, I would like to call it maybe prayer bags, if I would like to call it. So you get a lot of these places where you can make your own prayer. And especially near Chureito Pagoda, there's a place where you can wish for either health, wealth, or good luck, good fortune that you would wish for. And you get a tiny little bag that you can get from small little bag which is tied when
Hmm.
you make your wish. The essence of that also is you keep it with you, of course, that little souvenir, but you're not supposed to open that bag ever. Yes. If I can just possibly quickly show to you. So it's something like this. So
Oh,
if you
it's so
see, it
cute.
is tied there. So this one again, we got combinations of health or wealth. And this, it is very critical that you see the knot tied there, just tied at the back. You keep this with you. If you see this one, it has Mount Fuji threaded onto it, but you're not supposed to open that bag ever. You pray at the pagoda there, you take these souvenirs and you keep it with you for life, hoping and wishing that Fuji-san gives you what you have wished for.
Okay, that's quite nice. But now that you've said it so many times, you do not open it. I'm really curious about what's inside.
Yes, it's been a year and I will not open it. Neither will I let anyone else open it for sure.
I do hope that the wishes that you asked for come true. And thank you so much for sharing about your trip. It was great to talk to you and listen to all your adventures in Kawaguchiko. It's been pretty great.
No, thank you so much for your time and the experience. It just gave me a chance to relive all of those memories again and bring it to life for travelers. I would like nothing more than other travelers to also experience the beauty of Mount Fuji and Kawaguchiko and help me relive all of my experiences as if I was there yesterday.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that other travelers will find the information useful.
I
So,
hope.
with that, thank you so much, Bish, and we'll sign off for today's episode.
Thanks so much, Ananya. Lovely talking to you.